Israel has launched hundreds of airstrikes on Gaza in the last 24 hours, an increase in violence since the conflict began, but still no ground invasion. What's the latest you're hearing inside Israel?
Well, as everybody can see, the ground invasion that was, say, promised or planned and outspoken in very harsh terms against Hamas. Israeli leaders and military leaders said that they are going to dismantle or eradicate the infrastructure under Yahya Sinwar, that's the leader of Hamas in Gaza and the person that the Israelis are accusing in initiating, planting, and executing this horrific attack. But after more than 2 weeks, no attack, no ground invasion, though massive military buildup on the border. So every time there's a reason. The last reason given is, of course, the American request for delaying the attack. But there are suspects and some doubts among Israeli military officials that maybe there's more to that. Maybe there are some doubts within the government. And some people claim that Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli leader, though overtly speaking about an attack in many, many words, maybe as his long-time policy of not being trigger-happy and being very cautious before sending troops into enemy soil, maybe he is saying something but meaning something else. And there's also, I would say, a crisis of trust between the military on one hand and the Ministry of Defense, Yoav Gallant, who align with the military, taking a very proactive approach, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, who publicly has not spoken in the last few days, but some of his followers and supporters on social media and in the media, and the public media, are saying, starting to speak in a different language. Maybe we should wait. Maybe there's the toll in human, a soldier's life is too high. And people begin to think it's not just the views of his supporters, but maybe Benjamin Netanyahu's views, who just doesn't want to be seen as a coward, therefore is letting others speak for his policy while he's remaining silent on this important issue.
Well, Ronen, the latest reporting from The Times says the Biden administration has advised Israel to delay a ground invasion of Gaza in an effort to buy time for hostage negotiations and to let more humanitarian aid in. Is that the truth? Is that plausible? Is that why we haven't seen troops cross that border yet?
There are American requests, as we reported the day before yesterday, in the New York Times, and as my colleagues has just reported, there are requests not just because of the need to bring more humanitarian supply or the need to free more hostages, but also because there are doubts among American leaders and military seniors that maybe American military seniors that maybe Israel has not carefully or enough carefully planned the operation, did not think of what's the meaning of eradicating Hamas, and more important, how to evacuate Gaza after dismantling Hamas, and who's going to come to govern. Israel said very publicly, very clearly, that it doesn't want to continue the occupation of Gaza like it did since the Six-Day War in 1967. Who will rule? What will be the day after? All this is very unclear. And let me tell you, it's not just unclear to American seniors. Many Israeli seniors also don't understand how this war is going to, what shape this war is going to take.